So you are all welcome to this afternoon's webinar, which is organized by the PECB, that is the Professional Evaluation and Certification Board. This is a regional webinar for the African region, where we'll be discussing artificial intelligence in information security and how we are able to use AI to enhance risk management and ensure business continuity. So basically, I will be your lead speaker for this particular webinar, which will take us for the next 1 hour. All right. So you are all welcome, and I'm excited to be speaking on this topic. Please feel free to drop in your questions in the chat box. Once I am done with the presentation, I will take time to look at the questions and answer as much as possible that I can. All right. So thank you. We can make progress. Right, so by way of the outline for this particular webinar, we will be looking at the introduction. We'll discuss how AI is shaping the threat landscape, right? So the various threats that artificial intelligence is having an impact on it. We'll also go ahead to discuss how we can use AI to leverage and enhance information security as organizations in contemporary times are doing. Then we will go ahead to also look at how we can also use AI to leverage and enhance our risk management frameworks in organizations. All right, so I'll be sharing some best practices and some perspectives from the world of experts on how AI today is used in enhancing risk management and business continuity to ensure that organizations are continuously able to produce their goods and services at the acceptable time frames. We'll end this session looking at the future outlook and the way forward. All right, so that is by way of the agenda for this particular webinar. All right, so as I've mentioned to you already, I am Mohammed Abdul Fattah. Oftentimes I describe myself as a partner, business continuity, and of course, I'm a management systems expert or a management systems enthusiast. I'm a 24/7. So what it means is that I eat, I drink, and I do everything management systems, right? So I'm a certified lead implementer in over 20 different management systems, and as well, a certified management systems auditor by MSECB and by the International Certification Board and other international certification authorities. And I conduct audits many management systems, including ISO 27001, 22301, quality management systems, and as well operational health and safety, AI, which will be our main focus today. That is the ISO 22001, amongst others. I'm also excited to let you know I'm a certified artificial intelligence professional and a certified cyber security consultant by NIST. Right, so that's just the way of introduction of who I am. So let's make progress. So we can proceed to the next session, where we will be discussing the AI, how AI is shaping the threat landscape. So basically, what we're trying to say here is that threats are enormous in organizations today. Threats are taking organizations by storm. Whether organizations are prepared or they are not prepared, every now and then, organizations faces one threat or the other. Different incidents keeps coming up. The question is, how prepared are organizations' security? How prepared are organizations' security in order to be able to ensure that these threats that keeps coming up every now and then, they are able to identify them, they are able to nip them in the bud. And in this case, we're going to look at how artificial intelligence particularly is being used today to shape the threat landscape. All right, so let's look at how AI is shaping the threat landscape. Okay, so let's make progress on that as well, and then we see how AI is shaping the threat landscape. All right, so I'm going to take you through a deep dive of how, within the African region, top organization CEOs who were contacted and surveyed by KPMG, and you will notice that KPMG is one of the topmost, four gowns of international repute when it comes to, auditing, certifications, and training, and then ensuring that they're doing what is right with respect to compliance and others. So KPMG looked at the CEO outlook Right, so they basically conveyed a number of CEOs of top organizations across Africa, and the essence of this was to look at various measures. Amongst them was to look at how AI is impacting on organizations and how relevant or how important artificial intelligence is actually impacting on organizations by way of these businesses. And so when KPMG did this survey, basically they looked at how AI is influencing on the potentials of the influence of AI potentials in organizations. 87% of top management, or 87% of these organizations or the CEOs, basically what they said was that there is the level of understanding of generative. They understood the benefits of AI in their organizations. So 87% of CEOs, I understood that there is actually so much huge benefit, or if you like potential benefits, when it comes to the use of generative AI in organizations. Out of this, 45% of them also felt that the use of artificial intelligence has come to stay, and it provides competitive advantage. Or what it means is that AI is providing competitive edge, right? So what this means is that organizations who have implemented artificial intelligence have some competitive advantage over those who have not implemented artificial intelligence. So basically, that is what this particular measure was to look at. Then also, they looked at how artificial intelligence is impacting when it comes to regulatory and data challenges. Right. So how organizations are ensuring compliance to regulatory and other international best practices amongst others. All right. And then when it comes to data challenge, okay, we'll be looking at all those aspects. So they wanted to look at how CEOs understand, or basically what they think when it comes to artificial intelligence with respect to regulatory and data challenge. 57% of these top CEOs felt that, there is some level of uncertainty over regulation. All right. Basically, what this means was that in their thinking within the African region, what this meant was that artificial intelligence, although is impacting, although it's having a lot of benefits, however, the number of individuals, the number of people, the number of organizations who understand how this artificial intelligence can incorporate regulatory and other international best practices to ensure that their governance processes, their security processes, and their controls can be enhanced. About 57% of them felt that there is some level of uncertainty over the regulation of artificial intelligence. And I will tell you in many African countries, right? In many African countries, as we speak today, there are a lot of organizations, there are a lot of countries who do not have specific artificial intelligence policies or specific artificial intelligence directives that governs how AI should be used within those countries. In Africa today, one country that can measure clearly with that level of artificial intelligence policy as a country has to do with Mauritius. All right. In Ghana, as we speak today, there has been a lot of conversation, especially in the last few days, following the communications ministry seeking to bring about some amendments when it comes to communications, or when it comes to digital technology, and how people can react, or how people can maintain or keep their online presence amongst others. And so what this means is that generally in Africa, there is still a lot of work to be done in order to understand and give clarity to how artificial intelligence can be used. Then when it comes to confidence in data readiness, there is also another challenge. About 17% of CEOs feel that within the African region, we lack the data. By data here, we are referring to the data models that can be used to incorporate in our AIs to ensure that the artificial intelligence that is built within Africa and for Africa is able to do what is expected of us as organizations. Okay, so 70% of CEOs within Africa felt in 2024 that the confidence when it comes to our data readiness, we lack the data. A lot of organizations, right? When you look at how organizations are operating, data readiness becomes a challenge. You ask for data, and you can't have a synchronized form of data where you'll be able to leverage on it to be able to do everything. So data is kept in different units, or data is in silos. There's all this synchronization. in most organizations. And this was one of the challenges that was identified. Then when it comes to cybersecurity concerns, they wanted to look at how CEOs perceive the artificial intelligence when it comes to cybersecurity concerns. And about 10% of them feels that there is confidence in existing cybersecurity measures. But the question is that the case? Is that the case? So that should tell you that in terms of cybersecurity space, or within the cybersecurity space, artificial intelligence, there's still a lot of work to be done in Africa to ensure that organizations are able to build robust measures, robust controls that will be able to maintain sanity and ensure that artificial intelligence or AI do not take over the cybersecurity space and infiltrate or give it with all the wrongs that comes with. However, 60% of the CEOs basically felt that there is still lots to be done in terms of their willingness to increase investment. What we are saying here is that there's a lot of work to be done when it comes to AI in Africa. And not only that, what is more important is the commitment of top management of organizations to ensure that they are able to invest when it comes to AI. And I am seeing a lot of that. I mean, currently in Africa, in Ghana to be specific, I am very much familiar of a couple of organizations today who are championing, artificial intelligence based on ISO 42001, which shall be discussed, and other countries such as Nigeria, Kenya, and others, where I am very much privy to organizations that are now beginning to ensure that they are implementing some of these measures. So what it means is that top management needs to up in terms of their investment in these areas. Okay, so we look at what next. Good. So basically, I started talking about how information security is evolving. Sorry, please, the previous page. All right, where we talked about the threat landscape. Right, where we talked about the threat landscape. And basically, what I sought to explain earlier, as I mentioned, is that AI presents both defensive and offensive it serves as both an offensive and a defensive weapon to especially the cyber criminals. You understand? So basically, it's just like we saying that AI is a good servant, but it can also be a bad master, all right, or a good master, but it can be a bad servant, especially within the cyber criminals. All right. So basically, what we're saying is that artificial intelligence is doing a lot within organizations today, and criminals within the cyberspace are taking advantage of this to be able to take advantage to cause havoc in a lot of organizations. So basically, what we're trying to say is that the threat landscape, as I mentioned, keeps evolving and is growing and is becoming more sophisticated by the day, and it is moving at a fast and astronomical value. Right. So basically, the threat landscape is changing and is moving at very fast pace, and there is the need for organizations to also ensure that there is huge investment to be able to track down and take advantage of AI. All right, so let's look at what next. Okay, so basically, as I mentioned, we are going to look at the weaponization scale and the sophistication of artificial intelligence. Right, weaponization, the scale of sophistication. When it comes to artificial intelligence, as I mentioned, so when it comes to the AI landscape, as I mentioned, basically there are certain scale and sophistication when it comes to how organizations are implementing it and leading it. Right. So some of the challenges with respect to this have to do with the technical barrier reduction. So AI is able to democratize complex attack techniques. What this means is that, like I mentioned, the threat landscape is evolving by the day. Most of these threats keeps coming in different forms. In the next slide, we'll be talking about them, from malware to deepfakes and other threats landscape that keeps coming. And so, how we are able to use artificial intelligence to be able to demystify all these complex attacks techniques and enable less skill actors to execute sophisticated campaigns. Right. Then when it comes to the volume of amplification, basically you look at how automated systems, right, such as recognizance and vulnerability exploitations are increasing also by the day, and how basically attacks are frequently rising, as I mentioned. Then the complexities of the environment in which organizations operate. Right. So there are a lot of what we refer to as multi-vector attacks, which coordinate seamlessly across different systems and in entry point. So basically what it means is that in a lot of organizations, you come across, various attacks coming in different forms. Okay, we have had instances where organizations have been faced with various attacks in different forms within the same time period. And within all these time periods, if the organizations lack the controls that is needed or that is expected of them, basically what will happen is that it's going to lead to an exponential rise. So that's what this multi-vector attack does, and how AI is able to ensure that at all times, as a result of the predictive analytics that they do, they are able to identify some of these threats in advance, and they are able to control them. Okay, so let's look at how, so we're going to look at, the hyper-realistic social engineering, how artificial intelligence is actually, performing, or how people are using artificial intelligence to do a lot of social engineering stuff, all right, to make it look like very real, all right. And so what I said from the word go is that AI in information security is actually taking shape by the day. The changes that are occurring is very fast and it's happening at a very rapid mode. Okay, and so basically as we speak today, you will find a lot of cyber criminals within the industry, within the region, who are doing what we refer to as personalized phishing. When we talk about personalized phishing, basically it's also referred to as the spread phishing or targeted cyber attacks, right? Spread phishing or targeted attacks. What this does is that you come across, generative AIs, or you come across how cyber criminals are able to use AI techniques, right, to be able to craft or come out with perfect messages. It could be in the form of emails, it could be in the form of memos or circulars within organizations, right? So generally, what will be made to understand is that phishing often will come with some mistakes in the language or some spelling mistakes or on the domain and others. But we have some generative AIs today which basically will give you perfect grammar. So you see the grammar is very perfect, the context is appropriate to your organization, and it's relevant in terms of the messaging. All right, and some of these activities happen in order to bypass our traditional control systems within the organizations, which amongst them is the individual, the employees. All right, so most often than not, you realize that most employees will sometimes not be able to identify some of these personalized phishing because they are so real, they are so perfect, and they appear quite excellent. One other thing within the realistic social engineering space is what we refer to as deepfake. What is deepfake? Deepfake is basically about ensuring or about the use of artificial intelligence or AI to be able to develop audio or video impressions in order to impersonate some people. Okay, and so as we speak today, we have had a lot of videos have come out based on these cases where videos audio basically impersonating people, mostly in high levels or top management. The essence of cyber criminals who use some of these deepfake is basically to take advantage of organizations and to earn money. All right. Sometime in 2023, you might have heard of a case in Hong Kong. Where a marketing organization, WWP, I believe you are familiar with some of these cases. WWP top CEO was deepfaked. All right. So basically, you realize that the organization got a video. At a time when the organization was actually going through a lot in terms of top and topical decisions and meetings held, and basically a video popped up. Indicating that the top management is requesting for some funds to be transferred, which was so perfect. All right, the video depicted the CEO or the top management member of the organization. In terms of his style of presentation, the way he spoke, and everything that was presented in the video was absolutely correct. And so by the time the organization realized that that video was not correct, huge sums of money were lost. And in this case, the organization lost close to over $32 million within the shortest possible time. All right. When you come down to Africa, we have had a lot of such cases as well of how some top organization CEOs have been defaced. Right here in Ghana, run up to 2024 elections. I mean, there was a video of a very top radio presenter in Ghana. All right, who was seen advertising a particular product. Okay, and basically a lot of listeners to this radio station, I mean, trusted this this video, right? And this was an individual on a radio station referred to as City FM, right? And he was their top morning presenter. And the morning presentation, often that is where a lot of people listen to the news items, I mean, listen to the current affairs and all that. And so this was someone that has a lot of trust. All right. So a lot of people bought into this idea, trusting that, I mean, once it was someone like Bernard Avle who was presenting and making it, then that means that it was right. Only to realize that that was not correct. That is what deepfake, I mean, does. Right. So basically, a lot of organizations, a lot of people are facing these challenges, and there is the need for organizations to up and then invest heavily on their AI to be able to identify some of these deepfakes in order to prevent unauthorized actions, which will lead to some wire transfer of funds amongst others. Then we can talk about adaptive malware. We can talk of what we refer to as adaptive, malware. So adaptive malware, which is basically a malicious software that can change its various appearances, right? So, for example, you realize that we have what we refer to as polymorphic malware, or adaptive malware, or malicious malwares. What they do is that they are able to change their appearances and adapt new codes in real time. In real time basically means that within the shortest possible time, they are activities that cyber criminals are able to perform within the shortest possible time, all in a bid to be able to evade what we refer to as signature detections or signature-based detections and other antivirus solutions that organizations implement. A lot of organizations implement a lot of different antivirus measures. However, what adaptive malware does is that it's able to read in between the organizations antivirus systems, and immediately they adapt and they change their codes in real time, so as to be able to dodge, or if you like, escape the identification of some of these control systems that have been implemented by organizations. So that is what hyper realistic social engineering does in the world of AI. Okay, so we look at what next. Okay, so at this point, we're going to look at how we can use AI to be able to leverage and enhance information security. All right, so how do we use artificial intelligence to enhance information security in organizations today? So let's look at that. Like I mentioned earlier on, artificial intelligence can be used in different forms, in different ways to be able to enhance, organizations' information security. How do we do that? Yes, PCB, please proceed. Go. All right. And so we can use a lot of AI tools, as I mentioned, to be able to ensure that we are able to enhance, organizations' information security systems. Right. So some of the trends when it comes to information security in a lot of organizations today includes what we refer to as shadow AI, AI enhanced attacks, the use of local models, and AI enhanced security solutions. Some of them I've touched on them earlier on. Right. So when it comes to shadow AI, basically what this does is that shadow AIs are basically organizations. These are instances where organizations basically uses tools that ensure that they are able to identify, or they are able to take advantage of certain attacks or certain incidents that will occur within them, have some AI facilities or some AI screens or some AI solutions that is able to ensure that they are able to easily take, identify some of these cases, or identify some of the trends that are happening, and then nip them in the bud. And then also we have AI enhanced what attacks. AI enhanced attacks, some of them we'll be looking at them in the next slide. So we have a lot of AI enhanced attacks. Some of them include the deepfakes, they include the malware attacks that we talked about in the previous sessions. They also include the antivirus attacks that a lot of cyber criminals are doing. So a lot of cyber criminals are doing a lot of activities using AI enhanced attacks, where they can basically attack an organization using artificial intelligence. And then when it comes to the use of local models, you realize that AI is often based on on models, on data. All right. And so most of the models or most of the artificial intelligence that is used today, they are artificial intelligence that are developed based on certain models in some other parts of the world. So for example, when you take ChatGPT, for example, it is based on certain models from, let's say, in America or in Europe, based on where the developers, OpenAI, is coming from. And so what this means is that organizations will be able to enhance their cyber and information security space if they are able to leverage and use a lot of local models, right? So if you are able to use local models, that will enhance how organizations are able to take advantage and minimize the risks of AI security trends. And then of course, AI enhanced security solutions. So beyond the traditional security solutions that organizations implement, what next? All right, so what next? And you realize that from the introductory page where I talked about how, CEOs are investing in artificial intelligence and how CEOs think that AI can also leverage, or AI can actually enhance cyber information security. What this means is that with these investments, organizations can take advantage of it to ensure that beyond the traditional solutions, beyond the traditional security solutions or control that have been implemented, we can also take advantage of AI enhanced security solutions to ensure that organizations are robust, organizations are more agile, and are responsive to contemporary challenges and attacks. How AI serves as what we refer to as a defensive force multiplier. What do we mean when we say AI serves as a defensive force multiplier? Multiplier, in effect, basically means how artificial intelligence usage today in information security can actually have a multiplier effect, can have an enhanced effect beyond what it's been dovetailed to do, or beyond what it has been programmed to do. All right. So in effect, what we're saying is that AI goes beyond just what they have been programmed to do. A lot of generative AI transforms defensive capabilities. Right, they provide organizations with more smarter and more faster tools, which are able to help in combating evolving threats, as we mentioned. Right. So basically, when it comes to how artificial intelligence can be used as a defensive force multiplier, we can look at enhancing detection speed. All right. So some of the cases that we've talked about in terms of deepfakes, in terms of AI enhanced cybersecurity attacks and others. When we deploy AI solutions in organization, what this means is that those AI solutions are able to enhance the speed in terms of how they are able to detect, in terms of how they are able to detect and then clamp down on on issues or on incidents. Right. So AI processes basically massive data. There is a lot of data that is being churned out today. Right, a lot of data is being churned out today. If you go onto or if you go online, data comes from the perspective of text, from pictures, from audio, from visual. So there's a lot of data, and sometimes the real controls or the traditional controls that organizations implement are unable to process all this voluminous data in real time to be able to make decisions. So what this means is that artificial intelligence, with its with its benefit, can help us to be able to process this massive data in real time, thereby identifying threats that the regular incident responder or an incident solutions expert within a typical information security space will not have been able to identify. Then AI also helps organizations in terms of predictive threat intelligence, predictive analytics or predictive analysis. By predictive, what it means that with the use of AI as a defense multiplier, the AI is able to, in advance, predict the likelihood of certain threats that are going to occur in the organization. These are all based on data, or they are all based on what? Models that are fed into the AI that has been implemented. And so it's important for organizations to take note of the caliber of what artificial intelligence that they deploy. And that is where data is important. That is where the use of local models is important to ensure that the AI that you are deploying are in response, they are able to detect in advance. All right. So basically, what we can do is to deploy or is to build what we refer to as some MLs, that's machine learning algorithms. Right. So some machine learning algorithms can be deployed or can be built or can be ensure they can be inculcated in those AI, which will enable those AI to be able to anticipate, right? That is predict, that is look into the future in advance and identify potential threats that could have an impact on the organization. And then they nip them in the bud before, they materialize or before they become a major risk assignment. So that is how AI serves as a defensive force multiplier. All right. Just as I talked about how AI is used as a defensive force multiplier, so now also we can quickly look at how AI powered security. So the AI powered security capabilities. So basically, this is just a dashboard to indicate to you in terms of what AI is capable of doing and some of the impact that it has on organizations. So when it comes to threat detection, like I mentioned, some of the AI mechanism could be the deployment of machine learning. All right, it could be the deployment of machine learning, right, analytics or algorithms of networks, basically to ensure or to enhance user behavior patterns. So we can have some algorithms or machine learning that is able to help us to detect or identify user patterns. So we are able to tell for each user which site he or she visit at every point in time. So organizations will be able to detect or tell how users within the organization uses their systems, which sites they visit at every point in time. The business impact is that, basically automated anomaly flagging. So it's able to help you to flag on areas or websites or tools or aspects that generally they should not visit. Then when it comes to phishing prevention, we have natural language processing. Natural language processing, that is what NLP is. So we have the NLPs, which analyzes email content and metadata. So the business impact on this is that it's able to block sophisticated phishing. You remember we discussed some sophisticated engineering phishing activities. So when we deploy some phishing prevention using the natural language processing or NLPs, we are able to block some of this phishing from happening. Then we have the insider threat monitoring as well. Right. So basically, we have the user and entity behavior analytics. Right. UEBA, which basically is also is closely linked to an NLP. So the user entity behavior analytics helps organizations to be able to profile employees' behavior by certain baselines. So baselines are basically what is expected of employees, what is expected of them in terms of what activity they are supposed to perform, which site they can visit, which site they should not visit. And so once the employees go beyond those sites, that is where these threat monitoring landscape comes in. So AI will be able to flag them in advance, right? By the fact that those employees are visiting those unusual, or they are having access to those unusual patterns outside the normal working hours or working parameters. Then we have vulnerability management. So in terms of vulnerability management, we have predictive analytics and attack simulations, where proactive patching is very, very helpful, right? So proactive patching basically what it means is that organizations do not need to wait until their systems or their equipment gets to end of life. All right, so at regular intervals, there is the need for patching, to be done. All right, so patching is basically ensuring that updates are run on their systems, on their equipment, right, on their databases, on their servers, and all other getting onto business. Good. So we look at how AI support compliance frameworks. Okay, And so in organizations today, as well as we speak, there are a lot of compliance frameworks that are being used, right? So from the perspective of ISO 27001, which speaks on information security management systems, right, and its related controls, and how artificial intelligence can enhance real-time evidence logs by constantly checking and configurations, right? AI can also be used in terms of what? Risk assessment, right? Risk assessment is becoming quite complicated, and there are several risk assessment models that organizations are using today, right? So we have risk assessment or risk methodologies based on ISO 31000, based on Mehari risk assessment, based on EBO's risk. There are several risk methodologies. However, AI can actually also help organizations in order to map out the relevant threats and business assets, right, automatically. And these will help organizations to be able to transform those risks, management from periodic to continuous processes. Then we also have the likes of GDPR, that is the General Data Protection Regulation, which is a regulation actually covering the EU region, but has actually been accepted worldwide, and more importantly in Africa. A lot of organizations actually use the requirements of the General Data Protection Regulation to enhance their PII, which is the personally identifiable information, and that has to do with personal information management systems, or PIMS, right? So it's able to help us in classifying and ensuring data processing, okay, to ensure that data is not left out in the hands of those who are not expected to have access to them. So that is how AI supports compliance frameworks and enhancing organizational resilience. Okay, and so now we're going to look at how we can use AI to leverage and enhance risk management and business continuity. All right, so having looked at the entire aspect of information security and artificial intelligence, how do we use AI to be able to enhance our risk management capabilities and information and business continuity? Right, so let's make progress. All right, so there are a lot of AI tools or a lot of AI activities today that organizations are using. Please, let's make progress. All right, and so when it comes to strengthening risk management through AI, there are a lot of activities that we can do. So for example, when you look at business impact mapping, right, so that is where we are able to link security events, right? So what are some of the events that keeps happening within your organization? So what are some of the security events that happens that are critical, especially to your revenue generating systems? Then you are able to prioritize those risks. You are able to prioritize them for risk mitigation, right? So you can use AI to basically map out your key business areas. And then we talked about predictive analytics earlier, where you are able to use AI to forecast the likelihood of threats and intelligence, okay, through the use of enabling AI, and then you can use in AI defensive strategies to make sure that as and when these threats comes up, you are able to mitigate them. Then also adaptive security posture, right? So self-evolving systems, basically what they do is that they learn from blocked attacks and continuously they refine detection models. So these are some of the measures, or these are some of the ways by which we can strengthen risk management through the use of AI in organizations. So beyond this, we also have some other models, yes, PCB, where we can use the NIST cybersecurity framework, right? I know a lot of us have come across or have used the NIST cybersecurity risk management framework in order to mitigate risks, right? So how do we leverage on the NIST AI risk management framework, right? So NIST basically has to do with the National Institute of Standards Technology, which is an arm of the US government, that is the US Commerce. Basically what they do is ensuring that they bring about innovations and they develop security solutions, for use, which have become worldwide accepted. All right, so basically the NIST, risk management framework is a voluntary framework or guideline which organizations can use, or which provides structured approach in the building of trustworthy AI systems. Right. So the core purpose and objectives of this NIST AI risk management framework has to do with identifying and managing risks. All right, that is recognizing and addressing risks in advance. Then promoting trustworthy AI. All right. In actual fact, in the world of artificial intelligence today, it's not just about the AI that have been built, but how trustworthy are those AIs? How can we ensure that AIs eschew from what? Biases. AI present fairness amongst others. All right. So basically, the next risk framework support the design and the development. All right. So from the development through to deployment, ensuring that the AI are free from what biases and they are trustworthy for stakeholders to use. And then also the next risk framework also brings about what? Enabling robust governance. So the robust governance has to do what? From the perspective of what? Ensuring that there is a comprehensive what? Risk assessment and continuous monitoring from top management, ensuring enterprise-wide what? Risk management, where risk is owned by every individual. Yes, still on the next AI framework, right? So still on the next AI framework. So basically, the framework also, presents some major functions, right? So the core functions of the next AI risk management framework includes the govern, map, measure, and then what? Managing, right? So where governing basically has to do with what? Ensuring the governance aspect, ensuring what? Ensuring the ownership of what? The risk management, ensuring the reporting lines, ensuring that everyone knows what is expected, the policies, the procedures, have all been what? Developed and communicated. Map them in accordance with the businesses that the organization operates, the businesses, and how it will impact on those businesses. Measure them at regular intervals to see how these what AI models are able to what? Enhance the risk management abilities of what the organization. So you need to have some KPIs which at regular intervals you take advantage of what? Measuring them, and then you manage. So managing is where at the point where you identify the vulnerabilities, how you are able to put in the controls to ensure that you are able to manage those vulnerabilities from what? Escalating. So the framework also presents somewhat characteristics which include valid and reliable, safe use, secure and reliant, accountable and transparent, fairness, privacy, enhanced, and explainability, which most of them I've spoken on them in the previous slides. All right. So let's look at the very few slides left before we end our session. All right. So in this session, or in this slide, we are going to discuss how AI is also enhancing business continuity management, how artificial intelligence is also enhancing business continuity management. And so in the contemporary landscape of organizations, you find a lot of organizations who are implementing one business continuity measure or the other. And business continuity is all about ensuring that organizations are able to what? They are able and they are continuously able to what? Ensure the provision of what? Goods and services, albeit at the minimal predetermined what? Time scales following a disruption. So what this means is that disruptions could happen at any point in time. All right, so at any point in time, there could be disruptions to organizations. These disruptions could be as a result of cyber attacks. It could be as a result of what? Emergencies such as earthquakes, such as fire incidents, such as tsunamis, and so forth and so on. How do we use, or how can organizations use AI to be able to leverage on their business continuity? All right, and so in today's organizations, a lot of organizations are using AI to develop what we refer to as simulation, scenario simulation. All right, so a lot of scenarios can be what? Developed within the twinkle of an eye using artificial intelligence and testing the resilience and the readiness of what? Your organization systems. Right, so we are able to use AI we're able to use AI to simulate complex what? Disaster scenarios. So like I mentioned, some of them could be what? An attack, DDoS, right? Denial of service attack. It could be from malware attack, or it could be the deepfake, or we can even deploy the use of what? Certain disasters such as a fire attack, right? Sometime in 2024, 2023, 2022, there was a deepfake video that suggested that, the White House was in deep flame, depicting an attack on the White House. All right. Basically, these are some of the incidents which subsequently was revealed that was what? A deepfake video. So these are some of the ways or some of the things that organizations can use AI to be able to what? Deploy complex disaster scenarios and enhance or identify their cascading failures and interdependencies. Then also we have automated recovery. So AI systems or AI models can also be what? Deployed in organizations to ensure that as and when incidents occur, or as and when cybersecurity attacks comes in those organizations, they have AI systems that are not only able to what? Detect and mitigate them, but they are also able to what? Ensure that they are able to accelerate the data recovery, or they are able to what? Accelerate recovery within what we refer to as the mean time, the mean time to what? Recovery, or mean time to response, right? That is what the MTTR represents, mean time to what? Response. It is the average time, right? It is the average time lag between when an incident has occurred and when the incident responder identified the incident through to what? Its resolution, right? Through to the resolution. So from the point when an incident responder in an organization identified an incident and how the incident was escalated or reported, the action that has been taken on, and ensuring that the incident is mitigated. So that is the mean time to what? Recovery, or mean time to what? Response. And then also have crisis communication, right? So with the use of AI enhanced tools, organizations are able to what? Ensure that they are able to generate real-time natural language tools, which help them to draft reports, or what we call holding statements, right, for purposes of their stakeholder communications, and thereby ensuring consistency during critical first hours. Okay, so you realize that whenever there is a disruption, organizations are expected to communicate to their, clients, to third parties, and other interested parties. All right. So sometimes during these early hours of such disruptions, organizations need to ensure the communication goes as fast as possible and quickly. And so that's where they are able to use AI enhanced equipment and AI enhanced tools to be able to ensure that they are able to communicate and then make sure that the communication goes to all the people who matter and they are able to take the relevant actions. All right. So that is how AI is able to use in today's business continuity landscape. And so the question is, what next? The question is, what next? So some key takeaways for security leaders, for those of us who are involved in security, in the cyberspace, information security, in data governance, in business continuity, in incident response, amongst others. Crisis management. What are some of the key takeaways that we need to look out for? There is a need for us to embrace what we refer to as the dual nature. What do we mean by embracing the dual nature? In as much as possible that AI presents us with some benefits, we need to also understand that it also comes with some challenges, right? So AI amplifies both threats and as well, it brings about defense, right? So as AI amplifies threats, it can also present some defenses, which can be very successful for organizations to leverage on and to ensure that our defense capabilities are more high. And so as security leaders, there's the need for us to enhance the dual nature. Understand that AI can be positive, and as well, it can also serve us in a very bad way. And then there's also the need for us to integrate strategically. What do we mean by integrating strategically? So we can integrate AI by ensuring that we deploy AI across threat detection. So organizations that have control systems, there is the need, and what we can do is to make sure that we deploy artificial intelligence across these threat detection systems, ensuring that they comply to monitoring and business continuity for comprehensive resilience. And last but not least, evolve continuously. Organizations must not be static. All right. So for security leaders, you need to evolve every now and then. You need to ensure that you are also changing in as much as possible that the threat landscape keeps changing and the systems are being dynamic. So adaptive AI systems require the need for an ongoing refinement and continuous improvement in order to maintain effectiveness against emerging threats. All right. So lastly, let's look at the future outlook. So what does the future outlook? What does the future hold for us as security experts, as business continuity experts, as cybersecurity professionals, and many others? What does the future look like? What does the future look like? So in organizations today, what we need to consider, amongst others, is to look at how we can implement ISO 42001. All right. So a lot of organizations today, like I said, I know a couple of organizations that are currently leading the charge in Ghana, in Nigeria, in Kenya, and some other African countries. A lot of organizations have to begin to look at how we can implement ISO 42001 based on the requirements. All right. So this is a standard that provides an end-to-end implementation of ISO 42001. All right, so there's the need for us to ensure that we implement these in organizations, take advantage of the measures and the controls that it presents. We also need to look out for AI risk assessment. All right, so there must be a conscious effort to do risk assessment based on what AI. All right, there are guidelines that can help us. Organizations can fall on the guidelines of ISO 23894. All right, so ISO 23894 is a guideline that basically speaks on what artificial intelligence risk assessment. So if you want to have an expert knowledge or build your capacity or build your skill set on, in the field of what artificial intelligence risk assessment, then the ISO the ISO 23894 comes handy. Then we can also look at AI governance, basically looking at the entire governance framework of what AI in terms of the leadership, in terms of the reporting control measures and others. There is also the need for organizations to ensure that they develop and deploy AI security policies. Right? There's the need for organizations to establish AI security policies to ensure that these policies are used within the organization and everyone is aligned to the policies and use them effectively. Last but not the least, AI monitoring. Ensure continuous monitoring at all times to ensure that all the risks and all the challenges that are identified during the course of your monitoring are nipped in the bud. So these are some of the key takeaways or some of the forward-looking activities that we should be looking out for as we progress into the future. And so organizations must begin to look out for some of these, controls, or look out for some of these ISO measures in order to implement them effectively. All right. And so, that is where basically we draw curtains to the end of our, presentation, which I've been very excited to speak on. And so at this point in time, I will be inviting your questions. I will look at questions that have been presented and then make sure that I speak to them. Right.
We have received many questions, but unfortunately we do not have the time to answer all of them, so we will only answer to some of them. What is your position towards using AI to help strengthen security efforts when there are threats by AI, such as not having control of how the sensitive information is used? In a nutshell, do the benefits outweigh the risk of using AI?
All right, so in a nutshell, the benefit of using AI, so as I presented, you would notice that the benefit of AI, is far more, in as much as possible that AI presents a lot of challenges to organizations. It is also important that, the appropriate use of artificial intelligence in organizations presents a lot of benefits, right? And so, like I mentioned, basically what we need to do in organizations is to ensure that we use AI-enhanced security controls. Right, so AI-enhanced security controls can basically help to mitigate the impact of incidents and vulnerabilities that will have had, that will have had a major impact on the organization. So AI must be fair, must be trustworthy, and must present bias-free. Or we need to ensure that there are no any biases in our AI tools or our AI models, and that will be how we are able to ensure that we are able to enhance our security posture and resilience in the organization. All right.
Thank you very much. So the next question is, what are the biggest blind spots that AI introduces into risk management frameworks that traditional methods might catch?
Absolutely. Yes. So some of the blind spots that AI could introduce that the everyday traditional methodologies might not identify as we talk about. So basically, the over-reliance on AI in itself will not do as good, because the traditional methods or the traditional modes of doing our risk assessment and risk methodologies is still very relevant in organizations. What AI does is to enhance, our risk management capabilities, is to enhance our risk management capabilities by ensuring that it's able to read in between large volumes of data, which ordinarily, individuals or employees basically reading through this data will have had some challenges. But then notwithstanding, the responses or the conclusions of the use of AI risk monitoring tools are not comprehensive enough. what we need to do as employees or as organizations is to go beyond just the AI outcomes, and then also do some further follow-ups, do some further checks with the use of the additional traditional controls or frameworks. So that is why I said security leaders must use the dual methodology. And so both methods, the traditional controls and the use of AI, can help us to enhance our security posture in organizations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In the context of AI-driven threat detection and response, how can organizations maintain transparency and accountability in risk management decisions?
So for organizations to ensure accountability and transparency in risk management framework within organizations, what's some of the things that we can do in the field or in the world of enhanced AI is to ensure that our AI can be trustworthy. Ensure the trustworthiness of AI systems and AI models that are used. Ensure that AI is is free of biases. Biases in terms of what? In terms of the models or the data that has been used to develop those AI. Ensure that there is continuous training and awareness. There is the need for organizations to ensure continuous awareness creation or awareness sessions in organizations or continuous training, so that to ensure that everyone within the organization is at the same level. Everyone understands what AI does, how it will be able to help in enhancing risk management capabilities amongst others. All right. So once organizations do or does this, they'll be able to leverage and enhance their risk management and AI capabilities within the organizations. All right. Next.
Thank you. Now the last question. How can AI help identify and assess emerging risks in real time?
All right. So like I cited during the training, AI can help a lot in emerging risk landscape. All right. So for example, I talked about how some organizations who have developed the use of AI, how they are able to quickly identify threats that they are faced with. All right. So you may have all the tools in your organizations. All right. So a lot of organizations have developed or have deployed a lot of tools or have implemented a couple of tools in order to detect detect incidents and other vulnerabilities that could occur. With the use of AI, what it does is that it speeds up the use of this incident detection. And not only that, some generative AI will not only detect, do an assessment incident, but they will enable you to be able to detect the incident or analysis of the incident and identify the vulnerabilities and put in control ordinarily the employee or mitigation measures, which the incident responder will have taken a much more longer period to do. And so by organizations, what you are doing is that you are enhancing your organization's resilience, building business continuity, and ensuring ensuring risks and ensuring that the organization environment. Right. Any other?
Unfortunately, we do not have more time. I just want to thank you for this great presentation and everyone for attending this session. Have a nice day.